Hi, let's talk a little bit about pitching. A pitch is a short marketing message that helps you discover who's actually interested in the thing that you're talking about. You'll discover that they're interested because they'll say to you some variation on, "That's interesting, could you tell me more?" This is the primary reason we spend a lot of time in the startup ecosystem, so that you can become more efficient and better at finding those people who are interested in your thing. The secondary reason is that, believe it or not, most people cannot explain clearly and concisely what it is that they do. And like Einstein says, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it. And you should be pitching to as many different people as possible, as often as possible, so that you can get as much feedback as possible. Now, before you pitch to someone, check that they're willing to listen and give you good feedback. Most people, when talking about pitching, don't spend enough time worrying about the content, but far too much time worrying about the delivery. So today, in this video, I'll be talking more about the content and what you should have in there so that you can make a clear, concise message. These 9 things should be in every single pitch, regardless of length. It's suggested you do them in this order because this order has been developed over the last 10 years to answer the questions that people have as they're coming up in their mind. It is a formula. This means it works at the beginning, but slowly you will need to evolve from this. So let's go through each of these, starting with the last one. The ask. What do you want the audience to do? I would like them to buy me beer, preferably good beer, or sign up for your social media, or buy your product, or help you find a head of marketing. What is the thing that will help you move forward now? So the next thing is the thing that will get most people to understand where you are and what you need most, and that's traction. Traction is fundamentally amount of money per unit time and how much is it increasing. So you should never show this graph with cumulative money, but always with per unit time. And what's the growth rate that you're getting? Now, if you don't have traction yet, what do you have? Do you have an idea, team, prototype, letters of intent, some press coverage? Your gran said she liked it. You've got to have achieved something. By the way, having the idea is only the first thing. Doing some Googling about what else is out there. These are all things that explain where you're at and how people can help you next. This diagram from Startup Commons really helps you understand where you are on the journey. And most people only start pitching when they're at around 0 or 1. The reality is you should really be doing it as soon as you have that idea. Get that feedback, get that input from other people. Now, if your growth rate is accelerating, fantastic. Everybody wants to talk to you. However, if your growth rate is slowing, do you understand why? Do you have an idea about how you could change it? Does it matter that it's slowing? These are all things that you should be able to explain, again, in a short, concise manner. So next up, we'll talk a little bit about team. The team is that group there on the left. How can I tell they're a team? They're smiling. It's a group picture. That looks like a group, a team that is able to achieve things. The other group is a company. They have names and job titles and achievements. Everybody's got that. What you should be doing on the team slide is explaining, how did you come together? Why do you want to tackle this challenge? What makes you qualified and able to do this better than anyone else in the world? Do you have some unfair advantage? Next up, the landscape. This is the bit that expands most. This is the reason you have business people, for one of the reasons, in your team. because they need to be able to understand the competitive landscape, analyze who you're up against. Now here, you can see that the top right quadrant is very, very crowded. The reality is, you want to be pineapples. But how should you change this picture? Rotate it 90 degrees clockwise. And then all of a sudden, if you're looking for a fruit that travels well and is tasty, pineapple is where it's at. If you're looking for something that turns into a nice juice bag in your bag, then you want something from the bottom half of the picture, or what is currently the right-hand side. Here's another way you can explain how you're different from the competition. You're a niche player of a number of different intersecting markets, and this niche is uninteresting to all the other existing companies because reasons. And you can also explain how you're going to expand from that niche, or the reason that company Y is not interested in segment C. You need to understand this clearly, be able to explain it concisely when pitching. Please, whenever you're pitching and you want to talk about market size, don't just throw up big numbers that you found on Google or from some lovely report from a highly competent market analyst firm. You don't read the report, you don't understand the numbers. You're much better off explaining how in your town there are 50 somethings and you've approached 30 of them and 6 are signed up. So if you take these numbers and multiply them up by your country, then you can get this number which multiplies across the region, and all of a sudden we're talking about a big thing. Do the numbers hold true? We don't know. But you've got some proof and they are your numbers. I can't argue with your numbers. You've talked to 30 and got 6 to sign up. Those are your numbers. Could you do better? Maybe. But they're your numbers, I can't argue. Maybe they're not very big, but they are your numbers and they're better than people who have only numbers they found on Google. So next up, we talk a little bit about the business model. Now, we don't need to see the business model canvas because that's all the details of your company. That's your job to understand that. What we're looking for here is not a detailed explanation of the spreadsheet with all the numbers that are inside your company. What we'd like to know is who pays, how much, how often. So the how much, really that's about the number of zeros. 7, 3,500. What is the numbers? The how often? Is it a one-time fee? Is it a monthly subscription? And again, this is the most common case, not all of the edge cases, not all of 54 variables that make up your business model. Most people will pay approximately a single number. Tell me that. Or tell me the lowest or the highest price that somebody would pay. So who is that organization? Who is that person? What's the profile? How often do they pay you and how much do they pay you? Now, the next 3 are kind of tightly interwoven, so we'll just go over them together. The problem, solution, value is really answering these 4 questions. Who has what problem? How are you solving it? And why would they give you money? And then the last part of this is probably the most difficult. Coming up with a good tagline. Come up with an average tagline. And what is a tagline? It's a 1-sentence summary, an old school tweet of less than 140 characters. Something that summarizes what you do. And keep iterating on your tagline. The best way to find a good tagline is go and create an average or crappy one, pitch to other investors or entrepreneurs, better yet, and ask them how would they describe your solution, your company, in 1 sentence. They will probably come up with a better tagline than you can. And then practice. And when you think you've practiced enough, practice some more. For every new version of the pitch, you should practice and record and listen back 5, 10, 20 times, and then go and pitch to another human being, your co-founder, family member, some person who's willing to help you. Take their feedback, improve the pitch, practice 10, 20 times, listening to your recording of your voice, and then go and find a new person and pitch to them, take their feedback, rinse, repeat. So you're talking about hundreds upon hundreds of practice runs. And if you say you don't have time, each practice run is only a few minutes. Review, you're talking about 5 minutes. Do this 3-4 times a day, and with each week you get an updated version of your pitch. So that's the content that you need to think about. If you have any observations or questions, you can always find me on the internet. Google is your friend. Thank you.